Yo, what's up? What's up?
Ty's back.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
been a
back,
minute.
baby. I'm back,
Well,
baby.
I don't know if it
Well,
has been a minute.
no, it's been like a week. It's been like a normal week. Didn't we
Sheesh.
record like was it? Well, maybe we recorded like on Wednesday last week. So it's been like over a week.
All
I'm
the
gonna be gone
day.
next week though, for all of you. I'm so sorry. But like I said on Twitter, I'm hoping to have a more normal schedule in the month of April. So
Yeah, it's like, what's more important than the Seattle Overload podcast? Like,
exactly. 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 I'm dedicated to the brand. I'm dedicated to our loyal fan base. I was here early. I just want to point that out that Matty was the reason that we were late. I am a man of the people,
true.
as
I
always.
was like in the mode of, have I messed up the time again like I did with Griff?
You did mess up the time a little bit. A little bit.
Oh, so did you think it was like in half an hour's time? Or did you actually think I said half past?
No, I looked back in our chat. You actually did say half pass. You were like,
Okay.
can you
So,
do 11:30 my time? And then you later said today, can you push
yes.
back by an hour? So I assume that meant 12:30 your time.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay,
But
that's
then
fine.
you messaged me at 12 your time and or like 11:50 your time, and then you were like, "Hey, can you go in the next 10 minutes?"
No, I didn't say can you. I said are we because I didn't want to be a
Oh,
letdown.
well, whatever. All right, all right, all right.
And also, I was like drifting off to sleep, and then I was like,
Mm.
should I
I feel a
like?
little tired today too because I got I'm freaking vaxxed up today. I got freaking vaxxed up.
Oh,
Yeah.
what
So
number?
four. It's been over like a year since the last time I got one, so I'm a little overdue. So I decided to
4.
get one before I go on my this is my
Wow, I
yeah.
haven't even been offered my number 4.
Oh really? Yeah, they
No,
offered those a long time ago here.
well,
You're
I
lagging
have a
behind, pal.
feeling that Canada's healthcare situation may be in a better state than the
Probably.
United Kingdom right now.
Yeah. But yeah, wanted to get re-up before I go on my trip. So
There you go. What up, Jo?
what up?
Uh,
Ty and T Dot. What's up, Jen?
hello, Jen. Bobby Wagner's at Quandre Diggs' wedding today. That's cool. I did not know that Quandre Diggs was getting married. Congratulations.
Nice.
I
Congrats.
Yeah, good for
I'm
him.
sure he'll be doing some recruiting.
Love is the new nickel, huh? Yeah, we've got a lot of news to talk about.
We're
We can
gonna
get
talk
into it.
about that. Yeah, there's a lot that has happened since you and Griff got on here. So
Yeah, and even stuff that Griff and I were not prepared enough to talk about. Slash, we spoke for 50 minutes on Draymond Jones, and
I
then
mean, how could you not?
how
Draymond
could you
Jones.
not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually watching more of his stuff, and it's okay.
I've been in the group chat. I've been privy to some of the
Mm.
reactions, and it's
Yeah, I mean these are raw takes. They're not been fine
look,
tuned for the timeline,
look.
but
He checked out very early on in that season. Let's just say that. All right.
but Ty, like
Mm.
how early on are we talking? Because I've watched the first 4 games. Like,
Have you watched 2021?
okay, yeah, I should watch. You're
You
right.
should just
So,
watch 2021 and see if there's a difference. I don't know if there is or not, but like maybe you just look there. Because he even had some choice words about his 2022 season earlier today on 710.
mm.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
Seemed
that was
seemed
kind
like he
of.
was
I need
not.
to check that out. Was that a good interview?
I didn't listen to the whole thing. I just saw the clip that's been like making the rounds on Twitter where he was talking about there was some necessary drama in Denver and he didn't really feel like playing for the guy next to him and all that stuff. So I don't know if you saw that.
I saw little clips and
Yeah.
snippets,
Yeah.
text.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to listen. Very good. Okay, Matty's account gives third-person updates about Matty.
Mm,
That's right.
that's right.
Matty's account does give third-person accounts about Matty.
That's right. That's right. Maddie loves Maddie.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but
Mhm.
just a diva thing. The podcast
Right.
game,
Well,
it
you are
tends to
toxic,
attract.
so
Hmm,
that's
hmm.
a toxic trait. Yeah.
Yeah, like tiny
Is
bit,
that
tiny bit.
an Aries thing? Is Taylor in here?
No, it's not an
Taylor.
Aries thing.
Okay.
I don't think.
Mm,
I mean, it probably is. Overload, brother. That's exactly right,
that's
Thad.
right. Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, we're overloading.
We
Okay,
are overloading. We got
should we
33
go?
people in here for the
We do.
preamble.
It's just great little pre-game numbers. Real quick, if you're annoyed by the preamble and the pre-game, this is a
Mhm.
podcast that Ty does a great job editing, cutting out the preamble, putting in an excellent introduction song.
Mm.
Really good. Well, the song itself is fine.
Yeah,
This,
no, the song is good. The
yeah,
song
the
is
song's
good.
great. We had the song the whole time.
Yeah.
The song was cool.
Maddie,
Smoke meant
Maddie, Maddie,
2D6.
Maddie, no talking heads. All right.
No talking
Scheme.
heads.
Scheme. I in the
Scheming.
sky.
Look, we want people who read books. You have to read and you have to be scholastic about life.
We don't want any idiots here.
Yeah. Don't be a moron. Anyway, right. But
We
anyway, it is a
apologize for the
podcast,
very
and you
pretentious.
can check that out and the intro, and you won't have the preamble, and you get it on your phone. So download it, give it a 5-star review.
Do it,
Follow the
please.
Twitter at Seattle Overload. Follow Ty at Dane Gunzelers. Follow
Good to this.
me at Matty F Brown.
Yeah.
Right, should we go? Oh,
Let's
Jen,
do
hold
this.
on.
Oh.
Matty still
Oh,
about VAR. Jen, I am. However, Newcastle did win. They pulled
okay.
out the
Yeah.
bag. Isaac, absolutely unplayable today. Like he's kind of a bit like a Thierry Henry kind of
Hey,
deal to him.
I
Like
know
he's not
that
just a
person.
pure upfront guy. He drifts to the wings. Very, very exciting player. And 2 goals. Should have had an assist, but were robbed by a very unusual interpretation of the offside rule. Don't know why they felt that was not a deliberate clearance. But anyway, we move.
Mhm.
Newcastle United pushing up for that top 4 is going to happen.
And
Going to happen.
Maddie, I know you're very excited about the premiere of season 3 of Ted Lasso, your favorite television program.
Yeah, love Ted. Yeah,
Yeah,
great guy.
you're a big fan.
Just
Hey,
just top
S-
television.
Succession though comes back soon, very soon.
It
Getting
does.
very
I'm so excited. But
getting very
annoyingly, I
excited
have
about
to
that.
wait, like, because it's a massive event in America, right?
Mhm.
Of like everyone tunes in on a Sunday and
Right.
watches it. But in the UK, I'm gonna have to wait until Monday morning. But then I
Mm,
can't watch it on Monday because I watch it with my girlfriend. So then it's
right.
like,
Monday night.
and well, then my girlfriend might be out in the evening. So then I'm
Mm,
gonna have to watch it and then be like, no, I haven't seen this.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Pretend.
Little secrets in a
Laugh at all
relationship
the
are fine.
jokes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fake laugh at
yeah.
all the jokes. Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
just tiny white lies.
I know that.
Doesn't
I
hurt.
know that vibe. I know
Yeah,
that vibe.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this thing.
There you go. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where we have massive free agency news to dive into again, and a lot of it. Ty, since Griff and I talked about Draymond Jones and some other dealings, Seattle went in on the second wave, the third wave, the tender wave. Where do you want to start with this?
Should we start in chronological order? Maybe
Oh,
that's a.
that's asking a lot of me.
I mean, like Evan Brown was the first signing
Oh,
after.
there you go. That's
Yeah.
the name.
So
My brother, Evan Brown. We're
oh,
related. Brown's not a common
yeah,
surname.
that's right. That's
There you
right.
go.
Yep. It's like you and Evan Hill did the fusion dance, and you got Evan Brown. All right. So, so Evan Brown signs a 1-year deal. Former center / guard from the Lions, mostly played right guard this past year. Had some issues in pass protection per reports over the course of the year as a right guard, but has historically been a pretty good center, especially in pass pro. And that's where John Schneider has essentially said that's where he needs to play. So the Seahawks, Matty, seem to have Austin Blythe's replacement.
Yeah, and this is cool because he's mainly been a center, right? Like the only reason he was a right guard for Detroit last year was kind of due to circumstance, the way that they constructed their line.
Mhm.
But in 2021, he played center for them. You know, he came out as an undrafted free agent from Southern Methodist, where he was a center, and he's really smart in that aspect. I think he had an offer to go to Yale, so you know,
Mm.
got those brains on him.
Mm.
But also, what the difference is with him, who turns 27 years old in September, is that I think he has a bit more of an anchor. And, you know, I've done some Bill Belichick style staring at his bottom to see how the anchor's looking. He looks heavy in the pants, and
Mm.
the tape matches that. Like, he anchors okay. He also can move people in the run game. He had some beautiful combination blocks as a guard last year. Like, I did videos on the Detroit Lions rushing attack, and he was moving people. And so, compared to Blythe, I think you'll get a bit more out of them in the run game, and hopefully still the right calls. Should also say that Detroit's offensive style is there's similarities to what Seattle's doing, where you know it shouldn't be too much for him to pick up the new offense year one,
Mm.
and and then I think there's just a bit more potential from the way that he can anchor his power and ability to move people than what Blythe brought. The problem is like the pass protection at guard was tough. At center, he sometimes has slow feet,
Sure.
but and maybe you know he'll get lighter to play center again because he was playing like 320 pounds, which is you know that's heavy in the pants. But overall, it seems like
Jen in the chat really likes that term, by the way.
there you go.
Yeah.
We're just talking football,
Yeah, that's right.
scouting terms,
Yeah.
the jargon.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's it seems like a cool lad and very interesting as well. When
Mhm.
Schneider went on Wyman and Bob, his radio show, he said that the Seahawks front office, when they meet in December and January to talk over what free agents are popping, who should we really be looking to pick up, Evan Brown was one of these guys who they
Right.
identified as a big target. Obviously, you have to wait to see how free agency shakes out because one team might offer more. Detroit might have decided to re-sign him.
Mhm.
But the fact that he became available and Ty, they got a really good deal here financially. It just seems like a great ad, which you know covers this season, gives him a chance to prove it. But also, if they were to, you know, keeps their options open in the draft and everything else.
Yeah, it's a $2.25 million cap hit overall.
Cash
1.2.
man.
Yeah, there you go. $1.25 million base salary with a $1 million bonus. It's and it doesn't prohibit the Seahawks from doing really anything that they want to do with the offensive line with regards to the draft. If they do, you know, if they do really like John Michael Schmitz, if they do like someone like Steve Avila, they can still do that if they want to, because this is only a 1-year solution. But I think that this, I think that Brown, just given what we've seen, especially from him at center, has the potential to be one of the better centers that they've had as of late. Now, you know, for some, that's a pretty low bar to clear, but I think you know, fans should be pretty excited about this one.
Definitely. And 2021, when he played center, 12 games started there for the Lions. So he didn't play all of football, but it's kind of that, you know, this is why you're able to get someone on a 1-year deal for this price point and this deal length, because they haven't quite fully proved it, but they appear to be ascending. And this is the opportunity to go and prove it. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's been rumored in the draft that they like a John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota. There's also Luke Whitepler out of Ohio State. There's another name that I'm
Joe
blanking
Tippmann
on. There
out
you
of
go.
out of
And then
Wisconsin. Yeah.
the Arkansas dude who Stromberg. Is that
Right. Yeah.
correct?
I believe so. Yes.
So, you know, they've kept their options open, but they've also filled like the most obvious hole for I think cheaper than expected. Like
Yeah.
a lot of Lions fans are thinking this guy was going to get significantly more money. So
Yeah, I believe some of the you know, some of the outlets like Over the Cap and Spot Track that have like valuations on them had him around like a $10 million player this past year.
Yeah. So
And he ends up being essentially $2 million cheaper towards the cap than Blythe was last year.
And that speaks to how like the league undervalues centers or just doesn't value centers that highly. And Seattle's approach in recent years has been, okay, we're just going to get a guy on a 1-year deal
Right.
and we'll see, we'll roll with it. It is interesting that he didn't get more money. I guess also the motivation for him is, hey, I'm coming in here. They have an opening at center. Yeah, they
Mhm.
might draft someone, but it's my spot to lose. And that is a big chance for Evan Brown to go prove himself. So yeah, can't see how this isn't a positive.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty interesting ad for the Seahawks. So I believe the next one to talk about is Drew Lock, which John Schneider nearly broke on his appearance on 710 Seattle Sports, but Mike Garafolo beat him by a couple of minutes. The interesting thing here, so I believe it's I'm just kind of going off the top here. Correct me if I'm wrong. I
Go on,
believe it's
cash man.
yeah, well, this one I don't have in front of me. So I believe it's a 1-year, $4.5 million deal.
No,
Is 1 year,
no,
$4 million deal with
$4 million.
with incentives that can kick it up to $7.5 million.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Interesting though, when Schneider was talking about it with Bob and Wyman, he said when they mentioned that Garofalo or reported it, he was like, "Yeah, it's probably going to be about $7 million more than it actually is." So we don't have official like cap number on that as far as I'm aware. So we'll see, but what that actually turns out to be. But it seems like the Seahawks quarterback room for 2023 is solidified.
Yeah, and it was big because Drew Lock perhaps could have gone elsewhere. I know the quarterback needy teams have like the Buccaneers went with Baker Mayfield.
Mhm.
Vacancies have been filled with different players, and so maybe Lock's options ran out. But this is still a good opportunity for him to return to the environment that the Seahawks have, which I think he enjoyed. And Geno Smith described how they have a tight knit quarterback room,
Right.
and that's obviously big positives for Lock.
Yeah, Schneider talked about how much those guys have been very supportive of one another over the not just over the course of the camp battle, but over the course of the season as well.
Yeah, and that money does look quite high. And Schneider did say, like, he's like half joking through all of this. He did say
Right.
how that wasn't too far off from it was Mike Garafolo who reported the numbers. He said it
Right.
wasn't too far off, but yeah, that is slightly high now, I guess, because your cap spent on the quarterback position, given Geno's low hit this year, isn't massive. The sell really is that Locke can have a great preseason. He'll play more because Geno's the actual starter. He
Mhm.
hopefully won't get sick again, and he'll be able to showcase the talent that Seattle has with another year learning the system and stuff. He won't make as
Mhm.
many mistakes, and maybe then Seattle can flip him for a pick. Because right now, along with being Geno protection or like insurance, but really this is kind of a development project where Schneider's obviously enamored with. Think about the quarterbacks he's liked. He's liked the
Mhm.
traitsy guys who have crazy arms and can throw
Right.
on the move and extend plays. The extreme examples being Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, who that we know Seattle was interested in. Locke has elements of that to his game. The crazy arm, the ability to throw on the move, the kind of wow off platform stuff. The
Mhm.
real wow traitsy stuff, which is fashionable. The
Mhm.
stuff which has people thinking, oh, the Seahawks might like Anthony Richardson, but like Locke is kind of that guy for Schneider, as evidenced by this re-signing, as evidenced by him wanting him in the Russell Wilson trade, and the fact
Mhm.
that there was genuine talk before the season in the preseason that Locke was the guy, not Geno Smith.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, things have played out differently, but this is still an opportunity for Seattle to keep trying to develop Locke, and yeah, they might just get a pick from it. I don't know. Could it be you could even have a situation where, I mean, hopefully this doesn't happen, but say Geno Smith got hurt, Locke played really well down the stretch. Rather than having to re-sign Locke to a deal, you could tag him and then trade him. There's different ways to do it.
Right. Yeah, so they have an abundance of options here with him, but I do think that this is someone that they want to keep around, and essentially do what they did with Gino and just continually sign him to 1-year deals, keep him in house, keep him around, keep developing him, keep working with him, and then if eventually his time comes to get under center there, then maybe they've worked on some things and figured some things out with him.
That would be awesome if they could do that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be very cool. It
Yeah.
just requires Locke to remain patient and have faith, a lot of faith, really, because it's a long, long time waiting, which obviously Gino went through. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we got a donation here from Scott. Scott says, props to Matty and shout out to Ty. Never miss Locked On. Let's get Colby's sourpuss on the show for giggles. Do you think all the short-term deals correlates to a potential near team sale, near-term sale?
Wow, that's a spicy question. Thank you, Scott.
That is a spicy question. Gut reaction, no. I don't think so. This is kind of typically how the Seahawks have operated in free agency. This isn't really any different than we've seen in the past. Really the only different thing that we saw was like they handed out their biggest contract to Draymond Jones. That was a pretty big surprise with the way that I mean they never really do anything during the legal tampering period. That's like that. That's of that kind of magnitude with someone like a Draymond Jones. So that's really the only thing that they've really bucked trend with.
Yeah, I think it's more about they have a relatively young roster, right? Other than the quarterback, it's keeping their options open, and it's like look who they've signed. They've signed like ascending players, generally speaking, to like even Draymond Jones. His contract's basically a 2-year deal, right. So it's kind of if you prove it, then maybe we'll give you a longer extension. But if not, you can do a job for us in the short term while we get another draft class in to kind of replenish the roster. They're also dealing with the fact that they had a very tiny draft class in 2020 with just 4 picks. So they sort of have to. They're building their window. It's a bit like you can liken it to 2011, 2012 for the period of the team. So yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the ownership. I think it's more to do with where's the actual roster at this point in time. What do they need and like how are they going to take the roster from what we saw where they were a frisky kind of wildcard team who they did great to make to the playoffs after being slated by much of the NFL. They kind of died for interesting reasons down the stretch of the season, and then they got blown out by a team who was a genuine Super Bowl contender, and it kind of showed the difference between the two things. And so how do you get from that point to now actually being able to compete against those teams and make a Super Bowl? And really signing 2-year, 1 year, 3-year kind of ascending player contracts is the way to do that, I think. And think about the age of these guys. They're kind of in the middle bracket that Seattle is lacking, given they've got so many young players and then very small amount, but they have old players too.
Right. And it's about going into the draft without holes or without many holes on your roster and in a way that keeps you covered, but also doesn't handcuff you if you do end up drafting well and developing well and guys end up pushing the guys that you've signed, etc. So it's all just kind of a part of what makes a healthy ecosystem of roster building.
Yeah, and on that point, Ty, like I think when Evan Brown was signed, there's takeaways before we saw it was largely before we saw the terms of the deal, but there are some people reading into it as though like, oh, John Schneider's not going to take a center now because of this. It's not that. Like if you look at how Schneider's built a roster every single season, he goes into a draft with every starting position filled. He does not want to enter the draft without holes. So then, okay, you still have needs, like you still have worse positions. You still have positions with less less quality, but also less contract length or age concerns. And so you think you have to address them. But you can skew the kind of need versus best player available way of drafting more to that best player available side of thinking. So that, Evan Brown doesn't stop Seattle drafting a center. And I think, the rumors of them really liking is it John Michael? Yeah, Michael Schmitz. Yeah. You should read into that. I think there's absolutely a need at center still. And if they were to draft a young guy, then let him compete. But it's all about basically having every spot filled. And every one of these free agent signings is just that. It's not saying, hey, because we sort of had the same thing with Draymond Jones. It's not saying, hey, Jalen Carter's off the board now. Like he might be, but that's not why they signed Draymond Jones. Aside from the fact that Draymond Jones is more of an outside player than Carter, anyway, more of a kind of flex end than a pure defense tackle.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about. I mean, you mentioned we talked about holes on the roster. None bigger than inside linebacker for this team, and I've offered you my condolences on Cody Barton privately, but let me do it publicly as well. I'm sorry, pal. Sorry for your loss.
That's all good.
Yeah.
That's
So
very sincere of you. Thanks.
yes. Now, I got your back, man. So they did address the position with the former first round pick out of Michigan, Devin Bush, who had a fantastic rookie season, tore his ACL the next year, and just hasn't been the same. He's been bad, been really bad last couple of years. Like, let's just be honest about it. So, but this is an opportunity for a change of scenery for Bush, and the Seahawks are kind of taking an upside play, taking a flyer on someone here that is still 24 years old and is entering his 5th season. It's pretty wild. So he's still a really young guy, but I am concerned about how much the injury has sapped his athleticism, because that's such a big part of his game. And there's also some issues with some of his reads and whatnot as well. So they're going to have some work to do with Devin Bush if they think that he can actually start for this defense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you are not on your microphone, pal. I saw you scrambling? I saw you scrambling there for a second, and
Now?
yeah, you're good now.
Okay, let me just
There we go. We're back. Oh, hold on. All right, now we're good. Now we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Where Matthew decided to ruin everything. We're good now?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
Dodgy cable. Right. Okay, Devin Bush, Ty.
Reflect the Sun says that they sense sarcasm in my condolences about Cody Barton, but look, I'm a Cody Barton stan too. So
Yeah, we're never sarcastic.
yeah, we're never sarcastic, but like in this particular instance, I was actually being at least fairly genuine, because I too like Cody Barton. I am not a Cody Barton suppressive person.
We're always very earnest.
Yes.
All the time.
Anyway, Matthew, Devin Bush.
Devin Bush. So the reason I unplugged my mic was I was trying to get up Devin Bush's testing at the NFL draft, because this guy, if he came out today, would still be a first round pick. Like,
yeah,
obviously, you know what you know now, but he ran a 4.43 second 40 at 234 pounds. He jumped 40.5 inches vertically, 124 inches in the broad jump. He had a crazy 6.93 seconds 3-cone time, 4.23 seconds short shuttle. These are particularly those jumps and the 40. Those are crazy numbers. Like, between 90th percentile and above. Okay, he only had 32-inch arms. Seattle would prefer kind of a longer guy, and he is only 5'11". But like, he was a college star at Michigan, and it just never panned out in Pittsburgh in a weird kind of way. Now, what didn't help was tearing his ACL. That doesn't tend to help in 2020, week 6. That sucked, and that he never really recovered from that. It seems like, and never really learned. I think in his rookie year, he was kind of used like sort of blitzed into situations, sort of acclimatizing to the way the Steelers are playing defense. I think he played some good football as well. I know he had some production on the football, some interceptions in his rookie year, but yeah, 2020, it kind of just derailed his whole career to this point. But the cool thing, after the Steelers declined his 5th-year option and he became a free agent, and I think he was losing snaps to like a 7th rounder last year. So, some kind of late round linebacker. But, clearly Pittsburgh in their mind had moved on from Bush and at the inside linebacker position. Maybe Seattle and their culture can rebuild this guy and help him fulfill the potential that saw him be the the 10th overall pick in the 2019 draft. Hopefully, because They have a massive need at inside linebacker. Would I have wanted heading into the season Cody Barton or Devin Bush? 100% Cody Barton.
Right.
Does Devin Bush have more potential than Barton? Probably when coming into the league. And this kind of reads to me from the outside mainly. It kind of looks like it is a mental thing, like a psychological thing. And what is Pete Carroll? He's a psychologist. He is a motivator. And Mike Tomlin is a very crazy good coach at handling guys and man management, being a
Mhm.
proper head coach. But it's a different style, and so maybe again that change of scene is what Bush needs and helps him become the player that saw him drafted so high.
And again, he's so young, right? There's still he still has a lot of time, I think. And I as well, I think really what's important here too is that he's going to be further removed from the ACL injury. How much does that help,
Yeah,
if at all?
that's crazy. He turns 25 in July. That is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So he's going to play this season at age 25. And he's already has, let's say, 3.5 years of experience, of NFL experience. That's uh, that's pretty rare. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with this. It's a really, like, as far as this market goes, and I know you and Griff are not big fans of this free agent market for the inside linebackers whatsoever, but as far as this goes, as far as what was left goes, this is at least there's something here. At least there's something where I'm like, okay, I can cope a little bit with this. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's just it's such a, like, from everything that I've seen of Bush the last couple of years, I don't have really any expectations, but I hope that they may figure something out here. They think that they see something here. We have
Yeah.
oh, here. You finish your thought and then we'll get into this
No.
donation.
No. Well,
No?
we should finish on the linebacker position.
Okay.
So the Seahawks decided not to tender restricted free agent linebacker Tanner Muse. He was a big special teamer for Seattle last year. He actually appeared in every game for them, and he
Yeah.
also got some starting snaps when guys started getting hurt at that position.
Mhm.
He's he had some big hits and stuff, but there was a clear drop off from Barton to him, which I guess is to be expected.
Mhm.
Muse's main problem is that he just can't move laterally. He sort of struggles to
Right.
uh, recalibrate, divert his direction. But
Mhm.
redirect, that's the word.
There you go.
Nailed it.
Mhm.
But I
Stuck the
think
landing.
this is more not an indictment of Muse, and he may still end up back in Seattle. I think it's more
Yeah.
that I think for whatever reason, I think his tender number was like $2.2 million. Like, it was a
Right.
lot higher than the usual kind of tender,
Mhm. Mhm.
because he was a restricted free agent. But they did keep
John Radigan.
John Rattigan, who was
Mhm.
a exclusive rights free agent. Is that
Yeah.
how it works?
Yeah, because he was UDFA, like, last year, right? 2021.
Right. And
Yeah.
so Rattigan gets $940,000. So like half, well, over half the money, and or less than half the money.
Yeah,
And
and he's been a special teams contributor. It makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, and he's had some solid reps in the preseason. It was
Mhm.
interesting that he didn't get the shot over Muse last year, but maybe with another preseason
Coming
under
off
his
of an
belt,
injury, though.
staying
Yeah.
healthy, not being hurt, yeah, that
Yeah.
maybe it pops for him. But he's on the outside looking in. But
Yeah, yeah.
we'll see. It's kind
Mhm.
of a move you had to make for like the back end of the depth.
Yeah, you yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you need bodies right now. That's really what's important here. Like, yeah, you need starters, but you also just need guys because you don't have a lot of dudes right now in that position group. So, it was crucial to do that, and yeah, it makes a ton of sense to move on from someone like Muse and, because of the potential cap hit there because of the high number. So, like, that's fine, and maybe they circle back and re-up with Muse at a lower number.
Mm.
But yeah, so By the way, so Jen, I know you're watching. We're gonna get to your donation here a little bit later on. We're gonna talk about Julian Love first, but just to wrap up on the linebacker position, clearly this team is far from done with it, or at least they need to be far from done with it. Because Bush, I mean, look again, everything that I've seen from Devin Bush the last couple of years, I don't think they should be going into the regular season with him essentially penciled in or even written in pen as the starter.
You've watched the tape, Ty.
Watched a little bit of tape actually. I've been watching some tape, some actual tape.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm trying to do a little bit more of that. It's not great though. Yeah, it's not great. But I wish the best for the guy, and I hope that the Seahawks are right, and there's something here. But I would like a little bit more security here, if I'm speaking candidly, and I am.
Yeah, I think, as much as Barton was a scapegoat last year, maybe people didn't realize what solid linebacker play looks like compared to like really bad. I mean, just look at the 49ers game for
Mhm.
really bad, like
Yeah.
in the playoffs. But yeah, and maybe Bush won't be really bad, but he has been. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So Julian Love, this is the most interesting signing, I think, of the whole offseason thus far here in the early going for the Seahawks, because there's a lot that could come from this, or there could be nothing that comes from this. So there's been a lot of speculation on Twitter the whole day ever since this deal was reported, because not only was Devin Bush signed, but the Seahawks also signed Julian Love after having both out for free agent visits on Thursday. Julian Love, of course, safety from the Giants. He's started all 16 games this past year. He started 32 games over his 4 years in New York. Pretty good player. But this obviously brings up a couple of questions. What's going on with Jamal Adams? That's kind of the big one here that a lot of people are talking about right now on social media. And the other is, what does this mean for Ryan Neal, if anything? Because they gave him we talked about tenders. They gave him the lowest tender possible after a pretty solid season. So, for me, I think people are overthinking this. I think Love is just the nickel, and that's it. And this really doesn't say anything about Jamal Adams or Ryan Neal. Like, I think he's a hedge for Adams's health, right? If Jamal's not able to go right away. And I think that aspect of it doesn't hurt, but I don't think that he was brought in for that sole purpose, that he was brought in because of Jamal, because of what's going on with Jamal, or even because of what's going on with Ryan Neal. You feel the same? What do you think about all this?
Yeah, it's interesting that the Slav contract. Did you mention the financials? Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. So it's $6 million per year. It's a 2-year deal, so 2-year, $12 million, and we don't have the cap hit on it yet exactly. So
There
we
you
don't
go,
know.
cash man.
Yeah, so we don't know exactly if it's $6 million flat cap hit or whatever. We'll see how it's structured, but yeah, it's a pretty substantial contract, especially when you see like someone like Jordan Poyer signed for 2-year, $10 million. So
Right. Well,
um,
to me, that's interesting as well, like the length.
yeah.
So
Right, because like the thing that we have to mention here is Jamal and Quandre are both not guaranteed money beyond this year, right?
right, which is exactly what makes it a hedge.
Yeah,
Like, and we have to talk about Jamal Adams.
right.
That injury it looks absolutely brutal,
Mhm.
and he's been posting his rehab where it seems like he's had to learn how to walk again and then run again. And even running, it's obvious that he's favoring, his healthy leg over the other one. So there's a question mark there of, whether he can be medically cleared to play again. I'm sure he'd be backing himself to absolutely. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
And the commitment he's put in off the field for that process is just you can't imagine how tough something like that, rehabbing like a brutal sports injury to try and play in the brutal sport again can be. But like that is a big question mark, and so you did kind of need more insurance than just Ryan Neal there.
Mhm.
Now The other thing with Love is you mentioned his kind of nickel background. By the way, he turns 25 years old this Sunday. So there you go.
So he's also 24. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's had
Well,
4 seasons.
yeah,
Yeah.
for 2 days he's 24. But
Mm.
yeah, his kind of nickely background is interesting as well. So he was like more like a kind of a strong safety in that system in like when they're cover 3 or in base, and then playing like man to man in the slot on
Mm.
guys as well.
Mhm.
But then in too high, he'd play more to the passing strength, almost like sometimes. So he's kind of like a nickel. He's kind of like a passing. He's more of like a pass coverage guy, but with a bit more of a safety body. And he's 5'10", probably like 200 pounds. And so why that's interesting is last year, before Jamal Adams got hurt, all the talk from camp, everything we heard was that Seattle wanted to run Adams in like big nickel looks. So Kobe Bryant or whoever the nickel, the nickel corner would
Mhm.
be off the field, and Jamal Adams would come in, and Seattle would run what the Fangio tree calls penny, but is basically a bare front, but with nickel personnel, but with big nickel personnel. So
Yeah.
it's a 3-3-5 with Adams like over the slot, yeah, and then maybe like basically 3 safeties on the field rather than having a corner out there, a nickel
Right.
corner. So why that's good is it means you can get more of like a kind of, you're not too light. So when Seattle did this in the past in 2021, they called it Falcon, and Ugo Amadi was the guy, and
Mhm.
he'd come into the box and he'd do run fit stuff. And he'd be fine doing it. But your
Mhm.
concern obviously is with Kobe Bryant doing that, even Amadi, there's like a matchup thing where you're like, is this really the right thing?
Yeah.
But Love could definitely do that.
Mhm.
And he can run and hit and tackle. Like his
Yeah, he's a
tackling
really
in the
good
open field
tackler.
is brilliant.
Yeah.
And so if Jamal can't go, then I think Love can be that. And he also has experience as a blitzer and playing mugs down at the line of scrimmage. He is kind of an Adams. If Adams isn't ready to go, he can play. Then if Adams is ready to go, great. That's bloody
Awesome.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Jamal Adams is in there. But Seattle, when it's clear passing downs, will still want to play dime, 6 DBs, but that's still with 4 safeties. 2 corners, 3 safeties.
Mhm.
Yeah, 3 safeties. So again, Diggs, Adams, and then maybe Love over Ryan Neal is basically your
Right.
best dude.
Mhm.
So, but I think Love will play a lot of football because I don't see. I mean, I'd like to be wrong. I don't see how Adams is ready to go. And I think this 3-3-5 thing, why that's important, the bare nickel front, is last year, Seattle, when they were in nickel, for the vast majority of games, they played a 2-4-5 front
Mhm.
and an over G front where
Mhm.
they got run on badly in all
Mhm.
situations.
Mhm.
3-3-5 is kind of leaning more towards your base principles of stopping the run.
Mhm.
It's more stout against the run, basically, but it also gives you a bit more coverage. And it's kind of like a halfway house between the two. And it might be their approach to, like, maybe they swap out some of the crazy 2-4-5 snaps to play a bit more 3-3-5. And like Seattle showed a tiny bit of it. Like if you remember when they signed Jonathan Abram,
Mhm.
he actually his first game he was playing in that against the Chiefs, was it? Kansas City? Or may have
Yeah, yeah,
been
that was his first game. Yeah.
yeah. And so they kind of unfurled it a bit, but not fully. And
Mhm.
I think Love is this guy who can do that. Um, he's more like and so when it comes to Kobe Bryant,
Mhm.
I don't sure they'll be competing for reps and snaps, but I think Kobe Bryant comes in when you want to be able to play coverage, more kind of man to man stuff on a slot receiver. You can
Mhm.
play matchups more. Kobe's obviously a different type of player, so
Mhm.
it's slight competition for Kobe, but it's different roles. Like Love is a safety who can play in the slot. Bryant is a corner who can play in the slot, and
Mhm.
those skill sets matter.
Yeah. So I think really the question here now is if you don't think that Jamal can play, at least right away, do you cut him? Because they have to, and they have to kind of make that decision soon. I don't have it in front of me, but I read earlier today that part of his salary becomes guaranteed on the 5th day of the new league year, which is 3 days from now, 2 days from now. New league year was on Wednesday, right? It's Friday, so Monday. They have to do that by Monday. And they can post June 1 designate him, which would essentially save $8.5 million towards the cap. And that's Jen has a question, with the donation about restructures, extensions, etc. Because I mean, you look at this Julian Love deal. We don't know how much Jaron Reed's deal is going to count towards the cap. We don't know yet about Drew Lock and Devin Bush as well. So they're going to have to do something here to clear cap space because after the Evan Brown deal got reported, over the cap has them around $7 million in effective cap space. So maybe that's as simple as just moving on from Adams, which really stings, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, so the savings are what, Cashman?
So it's $8.5 million if they post June 1, designate him.
Yeah, so I don't really think the savings are worth justifying doing that given your investment. I think
Right.
you sort of have to wait that out, knowing what Jamal can be.
Mhm.
But it's definitely a discussion, and it's noteworthy that Bob Condotta reported that the team this isn't like a replacement. Love isn't a replacement for Adams. Like
Right.
this is kind of a separate deal.
Right.
But they'll have talked about it,
Mhm.
and maybe when did they have to make the decision by?
Monday, I think, is when part of his salary becomes guaranteed.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that. I wouldn't do it.
Well, because you don't have enough information at this time.
Yeah, and Adams at his best is absolutely fantastic. Like do it all safety, and you gave up so many picks for him that I think you can you should be more patient
Yeah.
for
So
like what $8.5 million could get you elsewhere.
it can get you Bobby Wagner.
Right there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh I don't know. Like it depends on what else they want to do, right? Because like Schneider yesterday on the radio said like they're talking to defensive linemen still. I would assume that Shelby Harris is one of those guys. And they might want to add a running back here because they've lost Penny and they've lost Travis Homer. Maybe there's a veteran back that they would like to add. Um, Maybe they want to look at a receiver as well. Like there's still things that they could do here. That's gonna cost money that they just don't really have right now. So I think this is actually a good segue into Jen's question real quick. When do you think the team will do extensions like Chenna Nwosu and any restructures like Jamal, Diggs, Lockett to create cap space? Love you guys, and show is 5 stars. Thank you so much, Jen. So kind of you.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, so it's got to happen soon because again, their number is running out, and I think after these Love, Lock, Bush, and Reed deals get reported, they're going to be over their effective cap limit. So
Not the effective cap limit.
yeah, which like they're not going to be over the cap because that the effective cap limit essentially it adjusts for the draft picks that you're set to make and what those valuations are. So um it's not like they're going to be in the penalty at this moment, but you don't really want to do that. That's kind of like that's not really a spot that you want to find yourself in. So you want to be able to balance that. So they're going to need to do this stuff, whatever it is, whether it's restructures, whether it's a Chenna Nwosu extension, which they should do because he had a great year and he's only on a 1 year deal now. Like they should do that. Um, yeah, so they're going to have to do something like that pretty quick here. I don't know when, but it's going to have to happen probably within the next week or so, I would think.
Yeah, I'd say restructures of Diggs and Lockett are probably
Hmm.
more likely
Right.
because I think Nuosu seems like something which would take a while to kind of work out.
Yeah, that's probably more of a summer thing.
It is, yeah. And
Yeah.
then, would he want to wait it out and just try and have an absolute crazy season? Like,
Yeah.
because in
It's a good
his
point too.
eyes, if he has another season, then the price goes even more up.
Yeah. Yeah. If he
Um,
proves that he can do it again, yeah, he could definitely bet on himself, and I wouldn't blame him for that. So
yeah, and interesting the most you looking at his contract now, like that was a 2-year deal and similar kind of thinking to what they're doing this year with a Draymond Jones is basically 2 years, $28
yeah,
million.
it's
dollars.
yeah,
Like they're
yeah.
trying to hit on these ascending guys who have been active and have had established production over the years who maybe just haven't quite had the full
Julian Love.
breakout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Brennan comes through with $10 here. Why
Oh,
did?
and Brendan, you
Mm-hmm.
know you know who Brendan is, Ty.
Mm-hmm.
That's Elm Coffee Roasters.
Oh, right. Thank you so much. We gotta swing through coffee
Yeah,
roasters at some point whenever
yeah,
we're
one
in town.
day we actually
Yeah,
will.
yeah. Whenever we're in
It's
town,
just we're not in Seattle. But if you are
yeah.
in Seattle, check out Elm Coffee because
Check them
Brendan is a
out.
good guy.
Yeah. Shout out to Brennan. Brennan's awesome. Brennan's been a supporter for a long time. Why did Matty at Clint hurt with that Broncos front 3-4 under? No need to address. Just curious. Why
Well,
did
we're
you at?
addressing now,
Yeah.
so I
Why did
have
you
to.
at Clint hurt, Matty? You toxic son of a gun.
So Brennan's wrote that correctly. Like it was at space Clint Hurt. So I didn't directly at Clint
Yeah.
Hurt.
Yeah.
If he was
Yeah.
on Twitter, maybe I would have. I've tried. I've searched.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Brennan basically the same thing of what I was saying earlier. What we've been harping on the whole off season, how they ran so much 2-4-5 nickel that presumably for coverage, right? And it
Mhm.
did help coverage, but they got run on so bad. And that Broncos front was interesting because they had the edges really wide, covering down on the slot receiver.
Mhm.
And it basically was a way of getting coverage, but having a front which is more suited to playing the run. I think it was nickel personnel as well. So it was kind of like we just talked about the 3-3-5 bear. It was kind of like a 3-3-5 bear, but bumped into under, which allowed them to play the run, but also cover down on slots and
Right.
yeah,
Right.
so coverage and a bit more of a run thing going on. But yeah, good question.
What else we got? Got a Jalen Carter question.
Yeah.
Carter can be a guy that fix the problems with the scheme. Well, that's the first part of that is a big if, right? It's a major if. You and Griff have talked about that pretty
Well,
extensively.
we haven't actually talked about the recent news is Jalen Carter
Mhm.
had his pro day.
Oh, you haven't talked about that.
No,
Oh,
we
okay.
didn't talk about that.
Okay, we can talk about that. Yeah. But let's answer the question directly here. Does that fix the problems with the scheme? If let's just say the Seahawks do draft Carter, he is who we think he can be as a player. Does that fix everything, Maddie?
Yes.
Mm.
No. Yes. So Carter is like a dominant player and kind
Mhm.
of wreck stuff. And he's that kind of dude who, if you're gonna sit in 2-4-5 fronts like they did last year, and you're gonna have do it in all manner of situations, and you're gonna try and hold two high safeties back. Seattle kind of cheated away from that towards the end because they were getting desperate. Or you're
Mhm.
gonna always have two wide edges who are outside linebackers, so lighter types.
Mhm.
Carter's the guy who can cheat the math on the interior, and he can just make plays where Pete Carroll said it himself, how like any defensive run, if you beat a block, you look pretty good.
Mhm.
And Carter can do that from all manner of techniques. Now, you still have to stop scheming so arrogantly. Like you have to think about the other 10 guys, specifically the other 4 guys up front or 5 guys. But Carter would go a heck of a way of solving that. Like, he is kind of the dream player for Seattle in terms of what his skill set is. However, Ty, his pro day did not go very well.
It did not. And he wasn't even able to finish his drills. He showed up to the pro day, of course, 9 pounds over what he was at the combine. And really, where my mind first goes to, it's not about how this impacts his draft stock or really anything like that. I worry about, a 21-year-old kid who's going through a lot, and how that's impacted him mentally. And so it just, and we've even heard it from, folks that have been around Georgia, or just fans of Georgia football, that there's something off here, with Jalen. So that's really where my concern is. I hope the best for his, personal well-being. From a football standpoint, and as far as the number 5 pick goes for the Seahawks, I have a hard time feeling like they still have him on their board. And Matty, we've heard some things too that may allude to that as well. So for me, as far as where I stand on this, I'm open to the idea of them still drafting Carter if they've done their due diligence, if they've talked to him, if they've, if they feel that they have enough information to justify making that pick. But you have to be very, 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 very sure about that, because look, Pete Carroll, John Schneider, they've talked about how rare of an opportunity this is for them to draft this high. They're probably never going to have this opportunity again unless absolute disaster strikes. And so, and at that point, you probably have bigger issues than just picking high. Because with someone like this, with a top 5 pick, they don't necessarily need to be the face of your franchise, but they have to be one of the guys. They have to be one of those dudes. And so if you can't trust Jalen Carter, if you feel that you can't trust him to, be on his P's and Q's, essentially, just to kind of use a blanket statement there, then you probably should look elsewhere. Whether that's Will Anderson, whether that's, if they have the opportunity to draft him, whether that's Tyree Wilson, whether that's a trade down and someone like Christian Gonzalez, or maybe one of the receivers, whatever. You have to be sure of it. You have to be sure that you can trust that guy. And I don't know if he's just from the outside looking in. And again, we're not in these buildings. We don't know what these conversations are like. We don't know the information that the Seahawks have about Jalen Carter and what they've gathered in their own research. But just from the outside looking in, I just feel like there's too many question marks to justify it at this point.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad story, but coming in 9 pounds heavier at his pro day, than he was at the combine, unable to finish position drills, looking exhausted through the bags, like he collapsed, like panting, and took his top off, and it looked like there was some bad weight there, we'll say politely. It's just tough. So it is a big if, and if Seattle feels good about it, then they could.
I support it.
That, as we've said, he's the best player in the draft, like based off his tape, but just all this other stuff, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, like if they feel they're confident in the research that they've done, the due diligence that they've done, then I support that until they give me a reason not to, right? Or until Carter gives me a reason not to. I'll put my trust in the people that get paid millions of dollars to do this stuff to to be on it. And obviously there's a lot of times where teams make mistakes with this, and they're not right. But I think, I don't know. It's such a huge decision in terms of just the future of the franchise in 2023 as well. Because if Carter is who we think he is, that doesn't fix all the problems. Just to circle this back to the conversation, or to the question, but or to U-turn even, bringing that one back. Yeah, there we go. Haven't said that in a few weeks. But to Yeah, just to bring it back to that question, I think that it does help a lot. It does. It's a very impactful addition if he is the guy that we all think that he is, and he's able to, get back on the right track on a personal level. So, because again, like this could go two ways, right? You dodge a bullet, or you make the biggest mistake of your life not drafting him. Because I think at this point, there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to have the opportunity to draft him. I don't think he's going to number 3 to the Cardinals. I'd be stunned by that after everything that's happened here. I think the Cardinals are either taking Anderson, maybe Tyree Wilson, or trading out of that spot.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be a really, the Seahawks are gonna find themselves in a really tough spot because this could be the one of the biggest draft misses of Schneider's tenure, or it could be, again, like I said, one of the biggest bullets he's dodged.
Yeah, and he said in his radio show, Ty, about how when you're drafting at that spot, the ledges become, they're tighter. Like there's less, especially in the certain drafts, which a lot of people said there's less really top players in this, and I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
There's, you have to know more about the lesser amount of guys, and they need to know so much about Carter, because if he's off the board, then maybe that's the end of that ledge. I mean, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then what do you do? Are you able to trade down? Like,
yeah, and how much is the trade down worth? Because what's the cliff after the first cliff, right? Like how steep is that?
yeah,
And so, is it worth trading down to 10 and getting, say, another first round pick from the Eagles, which is probably going to be like, if it's a future first round pick, that's probably going to be in the, high 20s to even the 30s if they're competing like the way that they did this past year. Is that actually worth, missing out on a Christian Gonzalez or a Tyree Wilson or whatever, and then ending up with, probably overdrafting someone like Jackson Smith and Jigba or Lucas Van Ness, or whatever, because like, again, too, like there aren't a lot of perfect fits for the Seahawks for me beyond 5. Like a lot of it is like, one of the bigger names there that would make sense more in that 8 to 10 range would be like Peter Skoronski, but it's like, where are you going to play him? Like that doesn't make any sense. So you don't want to do that. Christian Gonzalez would, make some sense, but you have quite a bit of cornerback depth in general. You got some guys that you really like, and he might be gone by like 7.
yeah,
So, so if you trade back to like 8, 9, 10, 11, wherever, you might not even have a chance to draft him. So at that point, you're talking receivers, you're talking Lucas Van Ness, you're talking Brian Branch, who, I mean, after the Julian Love signing, and if you bring back Ryan Neal, and if Jamal Adams is part of this thing, does that make any sense? I don't know. So, like, there just isn't really a perfect answer here. Like, there's a
no.
lot more clarity at number 20 than there is at 5 for me.
Yes, an odd spot in the draft. At least, there's so many teams ahead of Seattle who need a quarterback. Because can you imagine if there wasn't these quarterbacks, then it'd be even weirder. Like,
by the way, like I'll because Willhouse here in the chat mentioned Michael Mayer. I mean, if there isn't really a perfect fit at number 10 or wherever you end up trading down from, would you? Because I know you guys love Michael Mayer, and you put out a great piece on your Substack.
yeah, Seahawks on tape. Subscribe.
Yeah. Would you draft Mayer that high?
That's where positional value becomes a thing, because it's like, we could, what are we doing here? But I do like Mayer. He is.
I like him a lot too. So
good job we don't work in an NFL front office.
I'd probably draft Mayer at 5.
We'd let the
Griff would definitely draft Mayer at 5.
No, we'd let the clock expire. We'd get in an argument, and then we'd go and get coffee at Brendan's. There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, so finally, Ty, we touched on some tender news. Not delicate, but as in actual players receiving a tender, and
not chicken tenders.
not Where are we at with chicken tenders?
Yeah, let's do a chicken tender tier
They're
list.
just like a way of saying it's just charging more money for chicken nugget, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the thing, right? So like at McDonald's, right, they offer like the chicken tenders, like the 3-piece chicken tenders or like
Mm-hmm.
10-piece. Dude, I want the 10-piece nugget. Like,
Oh, you're like that twisted with it. Okay.
yeah, like I don't want the 3-piece tender. I want or like 6-piece nugget, whatever. Like I don't like that just feels like why? I don't know. Just chicken tenders feel pointless to me. I've never had a chicken tender where I'm like, this is my preferred way of eating chicken.
It seems like marketing.
Actually, that's a lot. I had some pretty good lemon pepper chicken tenders at this chain called Kelsey's a few weeks ago. In fact, I was watching Julian Love and the Giants get smoked by the Eagles in the playoffs while doing it.
There you go.
Yeah. Just
mean,
to
I
tie the
I
Seahawks into this whole thing.
no. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still thinking about tenders. Like my problem with them is they're just like it's just a marketing name. They're just chicken. There's just breaded chicken. Like
It's just more, yeah, it's just fried chicken.
it's just fried chicken. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
let's just call it. What was wrong with calling that breast or like fillet or
Yeah. It's like
we
the
call
chicken
we call like breaded chicken in this country. We call it goujons.
goujons.
Yeah,
Damn. That's fancy.
that's French.
That honestly sounds a lot less gross than saying breast. So I might just say
Oh,
goujon.
breast are gross now. There we go.
Well,
Okay. Right. Anyway, so Ty, the Seahawks also tendered Ryan Neal, which you sort of spoke about, but it is, you mentioned how it's kind of like a lesser tender, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's like the lowest tender that they could possibly apply to him.
Yeah. They have the right of first refusal.
Yeah.
He gets $2.6 million in 2023 if he signs that offer. I don't know if he signed it yet.
Does he have to? Like, does he have to, like, if he's exploring other options?
Yeah, I don't. Maybe not.
Like, does he only sign it if he's actually returning to the team? I don't know. See, this is where it gets like way too convoluted. Like
Absolutely.
restricted free agency in the NFL and like exclusive rights free agency and all that stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah, I honestly couldn't answer you on that.
There you go.
Sorry.
Anyway, so tender wise, also they did John Rattigan, which we spoke about, but a defensive lineman, Miles Adams, also received the.
There we go.
He received.
It's Miles Adams season, baby. We don't need Shelby Harris.
$870,000. So good for him.
Yeah. We don't need Greg Gaines. We don't need Ashawn Robinson. We got Miles Adams.
Well, if they like actually played him in the right front,
that would be
and let
awesome.
him play 3-tech. Like,
yeah, I'm not being sarcastic, by the way. I think Miles Adams is actually legitimately good. They just need to play him.
Play 5-tech in an underfront, like then we're cooking. Don't say, "Hey, buddy, we're gonna play you this game, but only as a 2-eye nose tackle in the 2-4 hell front."
Yeah. Let's have you do the thing that you're not going to have any success. Yeah. I thought Pete Carroll was about, putting his guys in the right position to succeed, asking them to do what they can, not what they can't.
But he is also about giving his coaches autonomy and authority, and freedom. So
it's time for him to take back the reins, Matty.
Oh, there you go. Anyway, so good for Miles Adams, and that is a depth piece that I think a lot of people overlook as like a 3-4 end, and this might be his breakout year, hopefully. Yep. Right. Final tender. Super exciting. You ready for it, Ty? Mike Jackson, left cornerback.
Let's go, Mike Jack. Yeah,
this is cool. Like,
this is really cool. Yeah, no, this is really cool. He had a nice season. Starting opposite Tariq, and obviously Tariq gets all the praise and accolades and all that stuff. But Mike was pretty damn good this past year. And I thought he got a bit better as the season went along as well. Yeah, I mean, going into the season, he had started 5 career games something like that, like something really small. Like he
Barely,
started,
yeah.
he started he started a couple games towards the end of 2021 for Seattle. Um, so going into this year, pretty much the starter from week 1, and with very little, actual starting experience, and doing what he did this year, pretty impressive.
Yeah, he quietly kind of made the left side his own. There was very few times that he got beat, especially deep, and
Yeah.
variety of techniques. He kind of got burst and twitch to him. Uh, didn't mess up too often. A few things against the run, which you'd have liked to have been better, but like,
Mhm.
yeah, cool. And there was a mic'd up segment that the Seahawks released on their YouTube channel from Week 18 versus the Rams, where
Yeah.
he just seems like a cool, calm, collected customer, which is what you want from your cornerback,
Yeah.
and also seems very switched on. So
Yeah.
good for him, like, and this is a great chance for him after this year to go and earn some like serious money. Like,
Yeah. For sure.
interesting, I guess that I heard there was murmurings that Seattle had serious interest in trying to go and get Darius Slay from the Philadelphia Eagles. It had been reported that Darius Slay had been released.
Yeah.
Turns out he wasn't, and maybe there was some, stoking up of agents to then negotiate with the Eagles,
Well,
perhaps.
I thought he was released, but they gave him a new deal. Like, they ripped up the old contract and gave him a new
I
deal.
don't think they actually released him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, it was like a game of bluffing. I don't know.
Alright. Yeah.
Anyway, so Seattle may be trying to get more left corner competition for Jackson. Obviously, Trey Brown is there, but whatever the case, whatever they go with, Jackson will be given that spot to lose. Like, he's earned that, and
Right.
he'll compete still, but he has this position to lose, and that's cool
Mhm.
because remember this time last season, Seattle had very much no certainty at left corner. It was unknown, given Trey Brown's injury and all of that stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, former fifth round pick, and he's 26 years old, so he's still relatively young. Should be hitting his prime. Good for him, and also credit to Kyle Scott, who can take a lot of pride in how he's coached up those corners. Deshaun Shed also works the corners as well.
Mhm.
So cool stuff.
Didn't Shed recently get a promotion? Because
I
they
don't think he
announced.
was promoted. I think maybe his title changed from assistant coach to assistant coach slash cornerbacks. But
Okay. Gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah, just different role, different title, whatever. Gotcha.
there you go. That
There.
is Seahawks free agency done. They will still sign people. We will still have news to talk about, and Ty and I will be there. But until that point,
Mm.
there's draft stuff. Griff
Mhm.
and I on Sunday, I think we agreed.
Ooh.
We'll have to see what
Chief
if
Keef,
that
you're gonna have
happens.
to go to timeout, pal.
Oh, Chief Keef. What are we doing here, Chief Keef? That's
You're
not
gonna.
really Chief. I don't think the real Chief Keef would behave in that way.
That's the shit I don't like.
No,
Get it? Like
I
the.
do get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
I'm too slow to think of a similarly witty.
I mean, yeah. We don't love Sosa right now. I can't believe that song is like over a decade old now. That's crazy. I'm pretty sure that like came out in 2012.
Mm.
Don't like. Don't like.
He
Anyway.
had Oh, I can't remember. It's too late. Right. Anyway, we will have draft stuff. Like the video.
Mhm.
Ty? How are we doing on the likes?
Let's check that out because we got
Yeah.
60 viewers right now.
Yeah. Yeah. As I
58
was saying,
now.
this Sunday, maybe Monday, Griff and I are going over all the edge rushers from the draft. Like
Mhm.
all of them.
Yeah.
Actually,
All of
probably
them.
not all of them, but like quite a few of them. So make sure you tune in for that because it'll be
We
fun.
we we've got 35 likes out of 57 viewers,
And we
which
had
is
more than that. So you gotta
we
like
had more
the
than
video.
that. Yeah, you gotta like
Download
the
the
video.
show, 5-star reviews,
Right.
follow us on Twitter,
Mhm.
do all of that stuff. We
Mhm.
appreciate you. It's going well so far for the Seahawks, I think.
That's right. But don't follow at C Mike Spin Move. He's a Draymond Jones suppressive person. So
Yeah, I'm definitely not that either.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Matty is definitely not that. Matty loves Draymond Jones.
yeah, I love watching loads of Speed Rush get stalled by guard and like loads of wide wins and yeah, like some like
Yeah.
terrible combo block play and like
Mhm.
only able to win one on one. Yeah, I love that. Right, bye guys.